So let me get this straight. Y'all believe it to be wise to start Jalen Hurts against the red-hot 9-straight-win New Orleans Saints, 4th overall scoring defense, 4th overall, most importantly, 4th overall passing defense, when you could wait a whole nother week, that's 7 more days, you can start him against the Cardinals, where they are the 13th overall scoring defense and the 15th pass defense. I don't understand. If you're completely done with Carson Wentz, why not let this be his last game? Why not start him against the Saints? Okay, he looks even worse than we already thought. Now we get to start Jalen Hurts. Don't make sense. Now, it's not official yet, but it is definitely safe to assume that Carson Wentz Philly days are completely over with. Listen, we are talking about 10 months before the draft, they paid the man $120 million. Now, it is not obscene for a quarterback, especially not at that time. We've seen Jared Goff, with Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks get paid since then, an obscene amount of money, but they gave the man $120 million. 10 months later, what help do they go give him to make sure that he's successful in the NFL? Their first round draft pick at number 16 was Jalen Reagor, a glorified kickoff punt, a special teams returner that from time to time it was able to take care of weak defenses. Okay, so you got a couple one-on-one matchups and you burn the top of the defense. So, but we're talking about a receiver from TCU. He could not have possibly been the number 1 prospect left on their draft board. Okay, 53rd pick of the draft, 2nd round, who do you go get? A backup quarterback. Now, these are supposed to be weapons for Carson Wentz to prosper with in the upcoming season. You just paid him $120 million. There was absolutely nothing on that roster for them to feel like, oh, well, we're good at these positions. We can go get Jalen Reagor and back up Jalen Hurts just in case something happens to Carson Wentz. Because I don't feel like he's injury prone, but he has had some very, very crucial injuries in key moments of the season. Moving forward, best case scenario, you had the forevision to have seen Deshaun Jackson and or Alshon Jeffries getting injured and not being healthy enough to make it this season. Once again, Jalen Reagor, you should have known was not your answer. Between the 16th pick and the 53rd pick, that's Jalen Reagor and Jalen Hurts, they had an opportunity to pick up 3 different linemen, an offensive tackle, a center, and a guard. They had the opportunity to pick up 7 different receivers. They had the opportunity to pick up 4 different running backs. Again, Miles Sanders was not going to solve a problem. Jason Peters has been in the league since yesteryear. I think he's done 17. This will be his 18th season in the NFL. Moving him from guard back to tackle was not going to solve a single issue. I think the only offensive player outside of Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz that's notable would be the Kelsey brother. I think Jason Kelsey. But he hasn't looked that good this season and will probably still make another All-Pro team. All I'm saying is this. Some of the names that they missed out on was Cesar Ruiz, Michael Pittman Jr., Swift, who's now in Detroit, J.K. Dobbins, Edwards Hilaire in Kansas City, Jefferson, the receiver from the Minnesota Vikings. There were a lot of... Chase Claypool was available. And again, I'm not saying that we were guaranteed to get this type of production from any of those players. But what I am telling you is, if you thought that Jalen Reagor was going to give you anything, why not these other players? Now, make absolutely no mistake. So far this season, Carson Wentz has been absolutely abysmal statistically. We're talking about a little over 57% completion. Barely 200 yards a game. I think he's averaging something like 218 yards per game. And he is leading the league in interceptions by probably about 2 games. Now, in his defense, the oh-so-great Tom Brady is right behind him with, I think, 11. So Carson Wentz has about 15. So I don't want to make it seem like Carson Wentz has no blemish for this season. I agree that he is a huge chunk of the blame. I'm not going to say he's majority, though. Here's the issue. We're talking about a guy that is 2.5 years removed from the MVP voting race. It was as simple as if he could have finished the last 2 or 3 games in the regular season, he more than likely would have won MVP. Don't even recall who won it that year. All I'm saying is there is still talent there. You don't go from being the MVP, the pinnacle of the league, to dropping so steep that you're replaced by Jalen Hurts, and it's solely your fault. Which brings me to my next point. The year Carson Wentz had so much success and he was an MVP candidate, Let's think about it. They were the number 3 overall run game. They were the number 4 defense. Now, there are teams that could put something similar together. Now, they might not be top 5 in both categories, but with Carson Wentz mobility, you won't necessarily have to be the number 3 run game. Carson Wentz can throw for about 4,000 yards. You lean on him equally with the run game, and he can get you to the playoffs and or get you some playoff wins. So I believe a couple teams that have the capability of putting something like that together would be the Bears. They would need a little help from the draft and maybe veteran players. The Patriots, the Cowboys, potentially. Again, we're talking about a coaching issue, not a staff, not a roster issue. They have plenty of talent. I said the 49ers or the Colts. Now, let's use the Colts as an example. Listen, despite what you may believe, the Colts are in a damn good situation. They were 6th in rushing last season. This was before, I believe, they traded away or released one of their backs, and the other got injured game 1 or 2 this season. They, in the last 3 years, they have been, 2 of which have been a top 10 defense. So again, we're talking about top 10 in one category, run game or defense, and top 5 in the other. They have the setup. 3 of their linemen, their offensive linemen, were drafted in the 1st round. 1 of them was drafted in the 2nd. I don't know when or where the other one came from. All I'm telling you is, again, they have the formula to have a run-blocking line and a line well enough to pass for Carson Wentz. Now, they will have to see about offensive weapons. They don't need blockbuster players. They still have T.Y. Hilton, who is an aged receiver, but if you can come in and have him be a shell of what he was, a veteran, to a decent receiving core, I think Carson Wentz would do damn good over there. I mean, listen, it does not take much to get a quarterback to look good as long as they're in the right system. That's all. Frank Wright was his offensive coordinator before he left. The year Carson Wentz was eligible, and liquor has got to me. Give me a second. The year Carson Wentz was in the running for MVP, his offensive coordinator was Frank Wright. Who's the head coach of the Colts? Frank Wright. So my point to y'all is, Philly is going to regret letting go of Carson Wentz. There is easily a situation on the table that looks good for him. I'll do you one better. What if he goes to the Patriots? Now, Marquise Lee opted out. They have a whole linebacking core, missing. But the Patriots could easily get players back that would create a top 10 defense situation for them. We are talking about Bill Belichick. He's known for creating top 10 scoring defenses and being hush-hush about it. So you won't know until the playoffs start and one of the broadcasters gives you that statistic. As far as his offense, we just saw Tom Brady's last Super Bowl. How did they get there? It was defense and run game. I mean, his last season with the team, defense and run game. They went 12-4. It's a first round exit, I know, but I'm just saying, with his mobility, Carson Wentz doesn't have to be a 5,000 yard, 40 touchdowns to 5 interceptions guy. We've seen him throw 3,300 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So it's doable. The only reason why I'm not guaranteed that he's gone next season is, number one, I don't know how good or bad Jalen Hurts is going to look over these next 3 or 4 games. Number two, they did sign him to a new contract. Now, his contract during the season, his base salary is very friendly. We're talking about average of $25 million a year over the next 4 seasons, or actually a little less than that, because his contract comes out to like $98 million over the next 4 seasons. Next season is the only season he has in guaranteed money. Excuse me. If you look at the Colts situation, they have Jacoby Brissett on the bench making like $20 million a year. And I think they signed Phillip Rivers to, if not 25, I think 35 million. So they have anywhere between 45 to $55 million at the quarterback position right now. Phillip Rivers signed a 1-year contract this season. So we could be looking at them saving potentially $10 million or spending the exact same amount. Either way, you have one quarterback you could get rid of for who you want, and you have one on the bench that you could either trade or bump up to a starter, whatever you wanted to do with him. Philly won't be giving up Carson Wentz this season, I believe, or at the end of this season, I believe, because if they cut him, it's $60 million cap hit. If they keep him, it's a $32 million. If they keep him on the roster and then trade him, it's a $32 million cap hit. So More than likely, he'll be in a Philly uniform. Worst case scenario, you have a backup. But no matter who the quarterback is, Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz, y'all are going to have to go get them some weapons. I'm not telling you definitively that he's going to go somewhere else and look good, but I have made sense. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, I'm telling you now, Philly, you better pray. Are you drunk?